Cardinal O'Brien, Britain's most senior Roman Catholic cleric, has strongly spoken out against the government's plans to legalise gay marriage. He accuses the politicians behind the plan of a grotesque subversion, and even goes as far to compare the legalisation of gay marriage to the reinstitution of slavery. The Cardinal informs us that, since all the legal rights of marriage are already available to homosexual couples, it is clear that this proposal is not about rights, but rather is an attempt to redefine marriage. He goes on to assert that redefining marriage will have huge implications for what is taught in our schools and for wider society. I must admit I'm curious as to what these wider implications could be. Since by his own admission no more rights are actually being awarded to gay couples, how on earth could changing the legal definition of a civil word have such a disastrous effect on us all? Well, let's find out. It seems that the Cardinal's first concern is for the teachers. He asks, if same-sex marriage is enacted into law, what will happen to the teacher who wants to tell pupils that marriage can only mean, and has only ever meant, the union of a man and a woman? Will that teacher's right to hold and teach this view be respected, or will it be removed? Will both teacher and pupils simply become the next victims of the tyranny of tolerance, heretics whose descent from state-imposed orthodoxy must be crushed at all costs? This rather vitriolic rhetoric confuses me greatly, because surely the Cardinal can't deny that if we are talking about the legal and not religious institution of marriage, then this view of the teacher is clearly false. Gay marriage has been legal in Canada for the last 11 years and in Belgium for the last 8, and in many other countries since then. Widening our gaze, marriage has meant more than a union between two people for time immemorial in a lot of Arabic and African nations where polygamy is still legal. It is clear by this that, in the eyes of many, marriage does not only mean, and hasn't only ever meant, the union of a man and a woman. However, I am missing the point. The Cardinal's treatment of this hypothetical teacher's view on marriage as an opinion to be respected, rather than a factual statement subject to being either true or false, reveals his tacit acknowledgement that marriage means different things to different people. So, if one can hold a personal definition of marriage, a definition that is correct by virtue of simply holding it to be true, or, accepting it off one religious institution or another, or accepting it from your own personal secular brand of morality, how will allowing gay couples to legally label themselves as civilly married in any way affect those who hold a separate religious definition? The truth is, it won't in the slightest. The government has explicitly stated that they are making no attempt to change the religious definition of marriage. Catholics and Anglicans everywhere will be just as free to deny the right of two men or two women to get married in their church. They will still be allowed to hold their personal views on marriage without fear of persecution by the government. In fact, this is the very essence of a liberal society, or the tyranny of tolerance that the Cardinal seems so guarded against. And as far as teachers expressing their views to children goes, if they are currently getting away with such factually inaccurate statements or proselytizing their own personal views to students, I doubt that a further change in the legal status of marriage is going to change their ability to do so. But maybe the Cardinal still does have cause for concern. Perhaps he is correct in saying that by officially recognising a wider definition of marriage, we are putting society in danger of collapse. So what are his other concerns? If marriage can be redefined so that it no longer means a man and a woman, but two men or two women, why stop there? Why not allow 3 men, or a woman and 2 men to constitute a marriage if they pledge their fidelity to one another? If marriage is simply about adults who love each other, on what basis can 3 adults who love each other be prevented from marrying? Now, slippery slope arguments are invalid at the best of times, but let's just assume that this one works, so I might ask the Cardinal a question. If marriage, as you claim, has always existed in order to bring men and women together so that the children born of those unions will have a mother and a father, why stop at limiting it to a man and a woman? If marriage is not simply about adults who love each other, why should a man and a woman be allowed to marry if they have no intention of having a child? In fact, why even stop there? Even if their intentions are to have a child, but they discover they are unable to, why not dissolve the marriage, as it clearly serves no purpose in your eyes? The point here is not that slippery slopes slip both ways, it's really that marriage does mean different things to different people. It's that marriage has been defined in many different ways by many different people. Personally, I define marriage as a symbol of commitment between two people who love each other. To me, marriage simply is about two people who love one another. If the Cardinal has his way, then if I want to teach my view to children, I will be a victim of his tyranny of Oh wait, that's not tolerance anymore, is it? However, I might still be being unfair. Perhaps the Cardinal is still right, that loosening the legal, secular definition of marriage will result in a slippery slope that puts the most vulnerable members of our society at risk. After all, the Cardinal does still have one argument which isn't based on a strong personal conviction. This brings us to the one perspective which seems to be completely lost or ignored, the point of view of the child. All children deserve to begin life with a mother and a father. The evidence in favour of the stability and well-being which this provides is overwhelming and unequivocal. It cannot be provided by a same-sex couple, however well-intentioned they may be. He may have a point here, except it's a blatant lie. After gay marriage was legal in their country for 5 years, the Canadian Psychological Society in 2006 released this statement. A review of the psychological research into the well-being of children raised by same-sex and opposite-sex parents continues to indicate that there are no reliable differences in their mental health or social adjustment, and that lesbian mothers and gay fathers are not less fit as parents than are their heterosexual counterparts. In 2007, the Australian Psychological Society issued a review stating that parenting practices and children's outcomes in families parented by lesbian and gay parents are likely to be at least as favourable as those in families of heterosexual parents, despite the reality that considerable legal discrimination and inequity remain significant challenges for these families. It is clear. The overwhelming and unequivocal evidence that homosexual marriages are poor environments for children does not exist. The Cardinal has stated a blatant falsehood. To Cardinal Keith O'Brien, it matters not that the government has explicitly stated that they will not force a change of definition on religious institutions, that Catholic churches will not be forced to perform same-sex services or even recognise gay marriages as religiously rather than civilly valid. What matters to him is that his institution's definition of marriage will no longer be the one recognised officially by this country. Because, in all honesty, marriage is no longer a religious bond between man and woman, designed to give stability through gender role-based parenting to their offspring. It is a statement of love, a symbol of closeness and commitment, made by two people to show themselves and the world that they have found someone they want to spend their lives with. If the Cardinal thinks that his imaginary teacher deserves respect for her opinion, he should surely also concede that the millions who believe differently deserve respect for theirs. His church and every other religious organisation are still free to define marriage in any way that they wish, and bestow it on only those they consider deserving. But inflicting that definition on the rest of us, and gay couples in particular, is the very definition of tyranny. Like it or not, marriage has been redefined, and it's high time that the government of this country recognised it officially.